I know a gentleman who has an opinion on that, Trey Wingo, who you can see everywhere. He does golf for Peacock during the Open. My gosh, Trey Wingo, how are you? 33rd team. You are in more places than there are rest stops on the New Jersey Turnpike. How you doing?
Adam, always good to be with you, man. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Your thoughts on what this might unlock from Rory? Then we'll get back to the roller coaster ride that was yesterday.
Yeah, and I think what you just said was really significant because a good friend of mine who I worked with at ESPN, and he now has his own golf company, and he's done a great job with it. His name is Justin Ray.
Yeah.
We talk all the time. Justin is just the absolute best at this. He summed it up perfectly. He said, in the end, the battle was always Rory versus himself, and that's how this had to end one way or the other. And I think that's what we saw Sunday. I mean, had the lead, double bogey in the first hole, and was up by 4 on the back, and then somehow got into a playoff. The battle was never Rory against the other golfers. It was Rory against his inner demon. And I do think, to your point, this frees him up to maybe go on another run like he had 2011 to 2014, where he won his 4 majors in that 3-year span. He's only 35.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing that is remarkable about this. He had gone 10 years without winning a major. He's not even 36. So, in any sort of normal professional golfer career, he is now officially really entering his prime. And I think that we have yet to see the best of Rory McIlroy.
Oh, I agree. I think he's a better player now than he was when he won his first 4 majors. Trey Wingo is joining us, 33rd team. Alternate routes where certain little things change during the course of a decision here or there. Like, had Rory won the Open Championship 2.5 summers ago at the Old Course, would we might he have already won a Masters? Let me go to yesterday because you talked about how he was battling himself, and I thought yesterday was a microcosm of the last 3-4 years of McIlroy's career, where we know how good he is, and he played incredibly well in tons of other tournaments, but just couldn't get over the hump in these tournaments, the ones that really matter, that make your legacy. And I thought there was so much resiliency within the round because, I mean, he hit 2 of the worst shots that you've ever seen a pro hit. Very relatable to those of us who play on weekends. On 13 and 18, 2 of the worst shots you've ever seen, but he basically followed them up with some of the best shots you've ever seen. Talk to me about the resiliency you saw yesterday.
Yeah, and it wasn't just – it was the resiliency of trying to win this tournament, but it was also the resiliency of going through the scarring of the 2022 Open at St. Andrews, of the 2023 U.S. Open at LA Country Club, of the 2024 U.S. Open at Pinehurst. And the thing that concerned me, even, like the shots he made 3 of the greatest shots I think I've ever seen in my life in a major championship, including that majestic 7-iron on 15 where he pulled his drive a little too far left, and he had to go under a tree and bend it around and make sure it covered the water in front of the green. It was one of the most remarkable shots that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
However, he had a 7-footer or 6-footer for eagle, and he missed the putt.
Yes.
Okay. And then he goes to 16, has another birdie attempt, and he misses the putt. He hit it so close on 17, which was another unbelievable shot. No one's going to miss that putt. But then on 18, like you said, he jumps in. But by the way, those 2 shots were both with a wedge.
Yeah.
Like he was 86 yards away. I think he made a mistake on 13 by backing off and trying to play conservative. He'd been ripping these unbelievable shots through the pines like he did on 7 and all these other 5, and then he just sort of got conservative. And I think if he had just played, he was 239 out and laid up. The last 2 days, he took it was 247 and hit a 4-iron onto the green in 13. So I thought that was the mistake there, and then he put him in that awkward spot. But, like, the only thing that concerns me about Rory going forward is the putter, and it has been a problem for him. You know, I can't remember the exact numbers, but at the Open, at the Old Course in 2022, he had a bogey-free round. He hit 3-putt once, and he with a lead, and he lost the tournament because he couldn't make putts. He couldn't make any putts. That was the same thing that happened at the LA Open in 2023 U.S. Open there, and obviously we saw what happened at Pinehurst. His miss on 16 at Pinehurst last year was the first miss for him all year inside 3 feet. Yeah. And then he does it again on 18. So, you know, last year at the U.S. Open. And then, of course, he misses the 6-footer that would have won the championship, which sends us to the sudden death playoff. So if there's one thing I'm going to be concerned about with Rory going forward is, can he get better at making these putts? The Tiger would just will into the cup all the time. And I go back to Justin Ray one more time when talking about just the dynamics of the roller coaster of the round. He texted me during the round and said, "This is what made Tiger so great. These collapses would never happen.
Right.
He was so mentally tough. He wouldn't let these things happen." And I think that now that he's done it again, I think Rory has the ability to do that as well.
Trey Wingo is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. A couple more minutes with Trey. If this frees him up, and I was listening to Brad Faxon yesterday on Live From, and Faxon said when Rory gets nervous, right, he pulls, and almost every one of these putts was short, which shows you the tension, and he lost his swing plane on his putter. So if those putts, which had been going in on Friday and Saturday, and actually on Thursday too, until he chipped it into the water on 15 and then made a mess of 17. If those putts start going in with the regularity that they had been, then we could be looking at a renaissance. You talk about winning a bunch of majors again. Tom Watson never won a major after 33. Arnold Palmer stopped winning majors, but the thing is, Phil Mickelson didn't start winning majors until his mid-30s, and then he finished with 6, right? This could be that second act of Rory, because I do think that he's probably a better player now than he was at any point, even when he was winning all those majors. Let me ask you your opinion of this. I've never seen a media, traveling media, a national, I can't even, like, everybody wanted Rory to win almost as much as Rory wanted to win. How much did that add to the burden that he's carrying around? Because it almost seemed like he was doing this for everybody else too, even though in his own brain he wasn't, but it just felt everybody wanted him to win. Yeah, and there's two things I want to get to there. First of all, we can't ignore what Justin Rose did. Oh, no way. Of course not.
Justin Rose made 10 birdies. 10 birdies on the Sunday of the Masters when he was in contention and didn't win. That's an impossibility. That's impossible. You had 10 birdies and you were within a few strokes of the lead to start the day, and you didn't win. So kudos to Justin Rose. I'm going to get that out of the way. But to your point, Rory was the story. And when he got to the Butler cabin, the first thing he said is, "I can't wait to hear what you're going to ask me about next year, Jim, because you can't ask me about trying to get the Grand Slam for the 11th time." So there was this collective. He was very aware of it. And just to put that in perspective, he's only the 6th man to win all 4 majors in golf. Every other one of those guys took them no more than 3 tries to get the Grand Slam. In fact, Tiger and Sarazen and a couple of people did it in their first attempt. Okay, and 3 of them did it in their first attempt. 2 of them did it on their 3rd try. This was his 11th attempt to try and complete the career Grand Slam. 11. Now, that's 8 more than anybody else. So to your point, yes, everybody was in on this, and he knew everybody was in on this. And I did think that added to it. There's no question about it. And this is the most unconventional. I mean, he started with a double bogey. He had 4 doubles on the week. Yeah. There has never been a Masters champion with 4 doubles. There'd never been a Masters champion that carded 2 sevens, and he carded 2 sevens.
Yep.
You know, the Rory coaster was unbelievable. To me, this is on the Mount Rushmore of Masters.
Yeah.
Now, everyone has their own list, but to me, the list is Jack in '86, Tiger's first Masters in '97, where he started the front nine with a 40. Came home in 30, was 2 strokes behind John Houston, and then just blew the field away in his first major first Masters and first major as a professional, and he set the record at that time and was the youngest. So that one's way up there for me because that was the coming out party. Then 2019, obviously, Tiger's comeback after all those years, having not won since the 2008 U.S. Open, and then this week, these. That would be my 4. And some people would say, you know, Faldo's comeback against Norman. Yeah, maybe, but you know, to me, the magnitude of trying to win the career Grand Slam and what was at stake, and the fact that Rory wasn't at his best when Faldo was flawless in that thing and Norman fell apart.
Yeah,
Rory fell apart 3 times and came back 3 times.
It's unbelievable. You know? It was
he
just
he lost it. He had it. He lost it. He had it. He lost it. Finally, he got it. You know.
I mean, it brought to mind that scene in Airplane where they're talking about the plane. It keeps dropping altitude and going up and dropping down.
Yeah.
And then I'm not going to say what the line is after that. But I think people watching Rory McIlroy at that point, like on the back nine, were like, "Make up your mind, man. What are we going to do? Are we going to win this or are we going to give it away?" But I do think that it was a microcosm of really the last several years and all the major championship scar tissue that he built up. It enabled him to get through it because you can't hit the shots that Rory hit.
Oh my God!
I mean, you just can't hit those shots. The putting, I think, will be fine. You just can't come through and hit those types of shots under the gun if there's not some like otherworldly ability to it. I agree. I think this was one of the greatest. I think it's one of the greatest majors, not even one of the greatest Masters.
Yeah.
Because the expectation going in when Tom Watson, Jack Nicklaus, and Gary Player all sit up there at Butler Cabin or at the media center on Thursday and say, "Yeah, Rory's our pick." That just adds more to it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks. And again, just forget the recent struggles we talked about. Just to put it in perspective, since he won the PGA at Valhalla in 2014, from 2015 through last season, a span of 10 seasons, Rory had 21 top 10 finishes in majors. That is the most over a 10-year span in golf history without winning one of them. So it wasn't just the recent ones we've talked about. He had put himself in that position so many times, including a couple of years ago, 2022 at the Masters. So it wasn't just
right.
There was so much scar tissue, like 21 top 10 finishes in majors over a 10-year frame, and not winning one of them. That had never happened before in the history of this illustrious game. So that's the weight that he was carrying around. And for him to miss the putt on 18, I thought when I went to a playoff, this could be reminiscent of Stuart Sink and Tom Watson at the Open at Turnberry in 2009, where once it went to a playoff, you knew Tom had no chance.
Yeah.
But to rip the same drive and then stuff that wedge, play it up. And by the way, really getting golf nerdy here, that's the difference that Rory, who's the best driver of the golf ball in the world.
Yep.
Everyone talks about Bryson. Bryson was routinely behind Rory almost all day Sunday. You know, but the difference in Rory's shot on 18 in the playoff hole as Justin Rose is the difference between an 8-iron and a pitching wedge. Okay, that 8-iron is not going to get as much spin as
right.
Rory's wedge, and that's why Justin's ball stayed up there. Meanwhile, he had a little spin on that thing because he was able to get 30 yards closer and put a wedge in his hand. He was able to execute the shot that would come back from that top shelf on the green, where the 8-iron was going to go forward. And that's the advantage that Rory has all the time.
It's just amazing. He turned the 18th hole, 465 yards into driver gap wedge. Just twice. Yes, twice. Hit the two greatest drives maybe ever hit on that hole. Trey Wingo, 33rd Team, alternate round podcast on Wondery. He is everywhere. I appreciate your time. Enjoy the islands, and we will talk to you soon.
You got it, Adam. Always a pleasure.
You got it. Trey Wingo here on the Adam Gold Show.